second video of the day. Um, and this was going to be about Julius Caesar and the works he composed, the commentaries, or better known in Latin, the commentari. Probably butchering that, but what can you expect from a person that doesn't know exactly Latin? And I have the works right here in front of me. As you know, I'm a avid bookkeeper. If you follow me on Helleni Story on Instagram, I tend to post my findings and whatnot. But this video won't exactly go over the Civil War, the Caesar Civil War, or the um conquest of Gaul, because that's something a history channel should look into, and that's not really what my channel's for. I do love to go over the history of things, but um I feel like these this specific period is well known to many people, so it's not really worth making a long video over. But the point of this video is really just to talk about Julius Caesar and his works, not the entire content of it, but some aspects of it. So Julius Caesar, one of the well-known Romans ever, one of the known more people of history, and the thing that's so captivating about Caesar is not just his military genius, but more like his literary genius too. Julius Caesar he was he was a late bloomer, and by late bloomer I mean is that he just elevated to fame pretty pretty late in life, in his 40s probably, and that's something that never really happened before. And he was competing against the likes of his rival Pompey the Great, and Pompey himself had a marvelous reputation, and he was pretty much the Roman Alexander the Great, arguably even greater if you want to really get into specifics here. But yes, um, Julius Caesar pretty much had struggled to get into the position he was, ultimately to die at the hands of his comrades, the Senate. He was murdered, and that was the end of Caesar's life, pretty much. Caesar pretty much brought the end upon himself because, well, he was named dictator for life, and he pretty much wanted to be crowned. He was pretty much aiming to be crowned king, even though he denied it. He denied it multiple times in public, but overall, um, he was pretty much setting himself up to be a type of monarch in a way. And if you know anything from the Romans, especially the history of Livy, Rome did not have really great history with monarchs. Their last monarch was Tarquin the Proud, and he pretty much was a tyrant and made life hell. And that was in the 6th century BC, and that was pretty much when he was expelled from, and that was when Rome became a republic under um, Lucius Junius Brutus, who, alongside with Colonius, founded the Roman Republic that we moderns tend to know today. But there's a difference between the Republic Julius Caesar lived in, which was pretty much always in turmoil. There's always two political figures fighting for control, and then there's the middle period where where you could pretty much say where Cato the Elder and Scipio Africanus and then Africanus the Younger. So there's all these different periods of the Roman Republic, and it's just an interesting thing. If you want to know what I'm talking about further, you could read Livy. Although some people don't think Livy's a reliable source, you have to realize Livy was part of the Augustan propaganda, and his works were mainly just to teach. His works, you could really, the first book actually, you could really say that was really just for Livy teaching Augustus how to be a proper ruler, and the rest was really just, it was good history. Don't get me wrong, but like take it with a grain of salt. Here don't really. There's just he's not reliable pretty much. I mean, that's the opinion of scholars, but for me, I like to take this with a grain of salt and believe that there's some truth to what these ancient historians said. But anyhow, um, in short, Julius Caesar had a rather difficult come up. He grew up in the period where Sulla was the dictator, and Sulla, if you knew anything about Rome, he was a pretty brutal dictator. But he did relinquish his power late when he felt like he put Rome back onto the path he thought was more suitable. And Sulla was responsible for pretty much weakening the populace power and resorting it back to the to those of the aristocrat power. But that would soon be diminished when Pompey the Great realizes that his power relies on the populace, and Julius Caesar would later perfect what his predecessor Marius, and he would pretty much do that and became what he became. And Augustus would take that and just perfect it to perfect and then just get rid of the Republican government altogether and establish the monarchy once again. And that's pretty much it simplified. I know simplifying things is dangerous, and that's why I encourage you to read the sources yourselves. But anyhow, the commentaries of by Julius Caesar are probably most notable because you really have to think about the genius it takes to write these things. He would write these things in the third person, and you have to really like, why would he write that in the third person? Well, my interpretation from that is really because he's trying to make himself seem more humble in a way, but at the same time, he's kind of glorifying himself in a way. Like he presents himself as a calm, calculated individual under pressure, and that's pretty much the personality we think Julius Caesar has. But that might not be the actual personality of Caesar, because one, he wrote these things, but I believe the final book of the Gallic commentaries were written by a friend of Caesar, and the Civil War is believed to be unfinished for obvious reasons. But yeah, that's the genius of these commentaries. The way he presents himself, and also they were definitely good sources of propaganda. That you cannot deny. But they're written so richly that you can't. Oh, it's just something so great. Like to think a Roman, and yes, even though Julius Caesar did rely on the populace for his power, he was a Roman aristocrat through and through. He comes from the Julian family, and that's aristocrat as it comes. If you know, the Julian family is one of the 100 original aristocratic families from dating back to Romulus, and Romulus was like at least around 700 and it's 8th century BC, pretty much. But yeah, that's the real genius of this. Like Caesar makes him like he often depicts like his soldiers really being so willing to like defend his honor and like are his soldiers really that willing to defend his honor? Like you really just gotta think about it. And overall, these works are just these are like in Latin. These are from what I heard. Like they're like the standard because Julius Caesar wrote these so well, and it's also just amazing to think that Julius Caesar was like in mid war and writing this as he went, and that yeah, it's just overall they're pretty good works. I would have liked to go more in depth into these. I really would, but to be honest, I don't think. Oh, I thought people know a lot about the Gallic Wars. People definitely know about the Civil Wars. That's how we know a lot about Caesar. That's how I knew about him before reading all of this. I did not know much about the Gallic Wars. Heck, I didn't even hear of them. But yeah, Shakespeare um, he pretty much used. I'm pretty sure he used these works of Caesar, and he also used the life that Plutarch wrote about Caesar, and that's how he wrote his play. And I really want to read that myself just to see if it's not just really just for historic purpose. It's just for enjoyment, really. I read for enjoyment, and that's pretty much why I do these videos. So the commentaries, man, they're genius. Like I don't think Julius is his genius is really in his military mind. It's really more these forms of propaganda that he had written. And keep in mind, these were sent to Rome and distributed. The reason the Gallic one is more how do I say this more notable to me is because this work exactly was the one where Julius is really um just just depicting himself as this just type of calm person that just never loses his head. And also Gal, you gotta keep in mind that Romans did not know how Gal was, like what contained of it, and this was just a good adventure. Um, how do I say his a good adventure log, pretty much. And you would think you have to think how Romans reading this would be like so amazed and profound by this, while Caesar's just inserting his propaganda in it as that happens, and that's how he gets his little following, his cult following, if you would. And then the civil wars are really just it's not really the same. This is really just propaganda to prove himself as the victim here. It's more of just to like get to make Pompey seem like this dumb um old person that's really just upset that Julius here is like coming up and just overall being more successful than him, and it's representing the Senate too as like these people who are like ungrateful and all. It's overall they're great works, like I've been saying, but overall I think you should really read these. Take these with a grain of salt though, because these are propaganda as they come. And I have recorded this second video now, and I think I will end it now because I feel like I just have said everything I wanted to say now. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.